It's a Tuesday evening. You're sitting on the couch, not doing anything extraordinary, scrolling through your phone, maybe eating something directly from the container because no one's watching. And your dog walks into the room, looks at you, and then lies down with its body pressed against your leg. Not on its bed, not near the window, against you. You reach down without thinking. You scratch behind the ears. Your dog exhales, this long, slow breath, and closes its eyes. You've done this 100 times, maybe 1,000, and yet most people never stop to ask what is actually happening in that moment. Not what you think is happening, what the neuroscience says is happening. Because those two things, it turns out, are very different, and the gap between them tells you something profound about who your dog understands you to be. Most people understand their dog's love in one of two ways. The first is the transactional model. You feed the dog. You walk the dog. You are, in the dog's mind, a very reliable vending machine that also throws balls. The affection is real, this view says, but it's built on utility. You're the source of good things, therefore you feel good to be near. The second explanation is the simpler one. Dogs are just affectionate creatures by nature. They evolved to bond with humans, and the warmth they show you isn't specifically about you. It's just what dogs do. Both of these explanations have some truth in them. Neither is wrong exactly. But researchers who have spent the last 15 years imaging the living dog brain, measuring hormonal responses in real time, and designing experiments that separate habit from genuine feeling, have found something that sounds nothing like either of them. What they found is that your dog has a specific, irreplaceable, neurologically distinct representation of you. Not of humans in general, not of the person who feeds it, but of you, that operates independently of reward, independently of routine, and in some measurable ways, independently of your presence at all. There are 7 ways this shows up in your dog's daily behavior. And by the time we reach number 3, I think you'll understand why most owners have been misreading it entirely. Way number 1. Your dog's brain lights up for you the same way it lights up for food. In 2012, neuroscientist Gregory Burns and his team at Emory University published a study in PLOS I that fundamentally changed what we know about the dog mind. Burns trained a group of dogs, 12 in the initial cohort, to sit perfectly still inside an fMRI scanner while awake and unrestrained. No sedatives, no restraints, just trained cooperation. It took months. What Burns was measuring was activation in the caudate nucleus, a region deep in the brain associated in humans with anticipation, reward, and critically, with feelings that aren't about objects but about people. He exposed the dogs to 5 different scents: their own, a familiar human, a strange human, a familiar dog, and a strange dog. The familiar human scent, yours, if your dog had been in that study, produced the strongest caudate activation of all 5. Stronger than food. Stronger than other dogs. This isn't metaphor. This is brain tissue responding. Your scent activates the part of your dog's brain that processes things it genuinely values. Not because it's trained to, not because it expects a treat to follow, but because you have become neurologically significant to it. Think about what that means the next time you come home and your dog goes a little wild at the door. That's not habit. That's a brain that just received the signal it was waiting for. Way number 2. Your dog reads your face differently than it reads any other face, including other dogs' faces. In 2007, a research team led by Angelo Quaranta at the University of Bari published a finding in the journal Current Biology that stopped a lot of animal behaviorists mid-sentence. They showed dogs images of human faces and tracked where the dog's eyes moved first. With human faces, dogs showed a strong left gaze bias. Their eyes moved to the right side of the image, which corresponds to the left side of the human face, which is the side that most reliably expresses genuine emotion. Here is what makes this remarkable. Dogs don't do this with other dogs' faces. They don't do it with objects. They don't even do it with human faces shown upside down. The left gaze bias appears specifically when dogs are looking at a right-side-up human face, which means dogs have evolved a specialized visual strategy for reading human emotional states that mirrors the strategy humans use to read each other. Your dog, right now, is better at reading the emotional content of your face than it is at reading another dog's. It has been tuned over tens of thousands of years of coevolution to notice what you're feeling. Not animals in general. You, the human in front of it. But here's where it gets really interesting, because both of those findings are just the hardware. What researchers discovered next reveals how your dog uses that hardware in ways most owners interpret completely backwards. Way number 3. And this is the one most owners get completely wrong. When your dog stares at you, it is not asking for something. I want to sit with that for a moment, because the instinctive interpretation of a dog staring at you is almost always, it wants food, it wants to go outside, it wants attention, it wants something. The gaze reads as a request. And sometimes it is. But there is a different kind of stare, quieter, less urgent, often happening when you're not doing anything, that researchers have identified as something else entirely. In 2015, Miho Nagasawa and her team at Azabu University published a study in the journal Science. They measured oxytocin levels, the neurochemical associated with social bonding, trust, and love, in both dogs and their owners before and after a period of mutual eye contact. In pairs where extended eye contact occurred naturally, oxytocin levels in both species rose significantly. The longer the mutual gaze, the stronger the hormonal response in both the dog and the owner. What this means is that when your dog looks at you, not at the treat bag, not at the door, but at your face calmly for no apparent reason, it is engaging in the same neurochemical loop that human parents and infants use to build attachment. Your dog is not staring at you because it wants something from you. It is staring at you because looking at you feels like bonding. The gaze itself is the point. If you've ever felt oddly moved by your dog just looking at you, that's not sentiment. That's oxytocin. That's your nervous system responding to a being that has chosen, in that moment, to bond with you. Way number 4. Your dog feels your stress before you've acknowledged it yourself, and it responds to it physiologically. In 2016, Lena Albuquerque and her team at the University of Porto published a paper in Royal Society Open Science examining what happens to dogs' cortisol levels, the primary stress hormone, when their owners are under emotional strain. They measured cortisol in hair samples from both owners and dogs across multiple months, controlling for exercise, health variables, and seasonal changes. What they found was a robust, statistically significant correlation. Dogs living with chronically stressed owners showed chronically elevated cortisol themselves. This is not the dog picking up on behavioral cues like a shorter walk or a shorter tone of voice, though those play a role. This is a synchronized stress response across species. Your emotional state, sustained over time, becomes your dog's emotional state. Think about what this means for the quiet moments. The nights when you're sitting with something heavy and your dog climbs into your lap or lies down so its body is touching yours. Most owners interpret this as the dog seeking comfort from them. Researchers who study this pattern increasingly believe the direction of the behavior is more complex. The dog may be physically positioning itself to regulate the distress it is already, hormonally, sharing with you. Your dog isn't just comforting you. It may be trying to bring both of you back down. Way number 5. Your dog knows the difference between you leaving for an hour and you leaving for a day, and it prepares for your return accordingly. Therese Wren and her colleagues at the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences published a study in PLOS 1 in 2014 examining reunion behavior in dogs after separations of varying lengths: 30 minutes, 2 hours, and 4 hours. They measured both behavioral indicators, tail wagging, jumping, proximity seeking, and physiological markers in the dogs across each reunion. The finding was precise. Dogs showed significantly more intense reunion behavior after longer separations, but only up to a point. After approximately 2 hours, the intensity of the reunion plateaued. The dogs had, in effect, already processed the full emotional weight of the separation. But here is the detail that stays with you. The dog's behavior during the separation period, their restlessness, their checking behavior, their orientation toward the door, was already calibrated to the expected length of absence. Dogs separated from owners for longer periods showed distinct behavioral signatures during the wait that were absent in short separations. They weren't just reacting to you being gone. They were holding a representation of you in your absence and modulating their own behavior around it. You are in your dog's mind when you are not home, and the version of you it holds there is specific, detailed, and emotionally active. Way number 6. Your dog turns toward you when you're in pain, and this is not trained behavior. In 2012, Deborah Custance and Jennifer Mayer at Goldsmiths, University of London, published a study in the journal Animal Cognition designed to test a simple question. Do dogs respond to human distress even when there's nothing in it for them? They arranged for owners and strangers to either hum quietly, a neutral, auditory stimulus, or cry. The dogs in the study consistently oriented toward the crying person. More specifically, they approached in a way the researchers described as an appeasement posture, low, slow, non-demanding, rather than with the excitement or anxiety they showed toward other stimuli. The approach was toward the distressed person, not toward their owner necessarily. The dogs were responding to distress as a signal category, not as a cue tied to a specific individual. This has a practical implication that most dog owners miss. Your dog's impulse to approach you when you're upset is not a trained response, not a response conditioned by past reward, and not a behavior specific to you because you feed it. It is a generalized empathic orientation that your dog applies to humans as a class, and then amplifies toward you specifically because you are the human it has the most neurological history with. This means that when you're having a hard day and your dog finds you, you are not projecting. You are receiving something real. Something your dog is giving without instruction, without expectation of reward, and without the ability to fully understand what you're going through, but with the capacity to recognize that you are going through something and to choose, in that moment, to stay close. The practical distinction to know: a dog that turns toward your distress is showing empathic orientation. A dog that leaves the room, avoids eye contact, or shows stress behaviors when you're upset may itself be overwhelmed. And this is worth paying attention to. Chronic owner stress, as the Albuquerque research showed us, becomes the dog's chronic stress. If your dog can't be near you when you're upset, the question worth asking isn't why your dog is avoiding you. It's whether you've been carrying something too heavy for too long, without enough support yourself. Way number 7, consistent, quiet physical contact with your dog produces measurable changes in both of your bodies. And the research suggests most owners aren't doing it long enough to get the full effect. Linda Hanlon and her team at Linköping University, in a 2011 study published in Hormones and Behavior, measured oxytocin and cortisol responses in both dogs and owners during petting sessions of varying lengths. The significant hormonal response, the one that registered as physiologically meaningful, required sustained contact of approximately 3 minutes or more. Brief, distracted contact produced minimal measurable change. Extended, calm, mutual contact produced a measurable oxytocin rise in both parties and a cortisol decrease in owners. 3 minutes is longer than most people think they spend. Most casual petting happens in 30-second bursts. You reach down while looking at your phone, you pet on the way to the kitchen, you scratch while watching television but half distracted. The research suggests that this kind of contact is better than no contact, but it doesn't move the needle on either of your physiological states the way sustained, present contact does. The actionable reframe here is not complicated. Once a day, not always, just once, put your phone down. Sit with your dog. Make it 3 full minutes of actual presence. Not grooming. Not play. Just contact and calm. The biology will do the rest. And this is the part that changes everything, because what we've been describing across all 7 of these ways is not the dog experiencing your love as an abstract feeling. It is your dog experiencing you as a physiological event. Here is what all of this research, taken together, is actually describing. Your dog has built a model of you. Not a simple model. Not a food source map or a walk schedule calendar. A neurologically rich, emotionally active, hormonally integrated model of you as a specific being. One that activates reward circuitry when your scent arrives, that reads your face with a specialized left gaze bias evolved over millennia, that synchronizes its stress response to yours, that holds a representation of you in the space you left behind, that orients toward your pain before you've named it. This model didn't form because you trained it. It formed because you showed up. Consistently. Over time. Your dog does not experience your love as something you say. It doesn't experience it as the expensive food or the premium bed or the birthday treat shaped like a bone. It experiences your love as presence, as the specific pattern of your voice, as the biochemical signature of your scent, as the emotional tone of your body when you're sitting quietly in a room. You are, in the truest neurological sense, your dog's home. And here's the thing about homes. You don't have to be perfect to be someone's home. You don't have to be calm every day, or present every moment, or get the enrichment right every week. The research doesn't describe a dog whose love is conditional on your performance. It describes a dog whose nervous system has become, over the time you've spent together, quietly synchronized with yours. The dog lying against your leg right now, not asking for anything, just there, is not waiting for you to do something. It is doing something. It is being near the most neurologically significant being in its life. It is in the only language available to it, telling you that you matter. You have always mattered to it. You just didn't have the science to see it. Your dog isn't showing you affection despite not understanding what love is. It's showing you affection through the only mechanism it has, its nervous system, its attention, its body pressed against yours. And it turns out that mechanism is more sophisticated than we gave it credit for. If this changed how you see even one moment from your day with your dog, subscribe. That's what this channel is, a place to take the science seriously and let it make you feel something real. Tell me in the comments, which of the 7 surprised you most? And does your dog find you when you're upset, or does it give you space? I'm genuinely curious whether this splits evenly. Next time, we're looking at something that almost every dog owner misinterprets as a behavior problem. But the research on it suggests it's actually one of the most sophisticated cognitive things your dog does. The psychology behind it is older than domestication itself. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it.